What is going on, everyone? My name is Jamon McKinney, but of course you can just call me Juice because that is my nickname. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest edition of the Juice Alert. If you have not subscribed to the Juice Alert already, be sure to do that right about now. You will not regret it. You can find the Juice Alert on YouTube as well as podcasting platforms that includes Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that great stuff. Be sure to, if you have not already, follow me on social media. If you're a social media guy or gal, it would be much appreciated. Really would love to grow my personal brand and also connect with you guys on a better and higher level. And the way I can do that is through social media. So please, if you have not followed me on any social media platforms, please take a little bit of the time out of your day to screenshot these handles on your screen if you're watching on YouTube, or just simply go to the description of this episode. All of my social media handles will be listed right there. We are going to begin by discussing the 2023-2024 NFL MVP race. Who is going to win the 2023-2024 NFL MVP? I believe Trevor Lawrence is going to win NFL MVP. I think Trevor Lawrence puts together a fantastic season this year, being coached by Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson is probably the most underappreciated great head coach in the NFL. This guy has won a Super Bowl, won a lot of games in Philadelphia, immediately turned the Jacksonville Jaguars around last season, really helped develop and get Trevor Lawrence's confidence back. And you saw last year in Trevor Lawrence's sophomore season, by about week number 8, he had full command of the offense. He was as confident as ever, and he was playing the best football of his career. From about week 8 to week 17 and on into the playoffs, not many quarterbacks were playing at a higher level than Trevor Lawrence. I mean, this guy, we know about his talent, has the elite arm strength, has the size, has the mobility that I think is a little bit underrated by some people. And I think Trevor Lawrence, with Calvin Ridley coming into the fray this year, Calvin Ridley is a great wide receiver that is going to help Trevor Lawrence tremendously improve upon his game. You know, he's a guy that stretches the defense, an excellent route runner. I mean, he's just a very quarterback-friendly wide receiver. Christian Kirk had a breakout season this past year. We know Evan Ingram has improved a lot. He's a very solid tight end. Not to mention you have Travis Etienne as a reliable target out of the backfield, a guy that can run the football and take some pressure off of Trevor Lawrence. You look at Jacksonville in that division, there's no quarterback in that division that is close to Trevor Lawrence, and no head coach in that division that is close to Doug Peterson. You look at the Colts, the Texans, they're rebuilding, and the Tennessee Titans, not nearly as talented as the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville, to me, is going to run away with this division. They're a very talented team with star wide receivers, you know, a great dynamic quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. And I think this is the year Trevor Lawrence really puts it all together. I know it's only his third season in the NFL, but we've seen quarterbacks by their third season, you know, really start to pick things up. You know, Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl in his third season. Jalen Hurts got to a Super Bowl in his third season as a starter. Russell Wilson, by year number 3, was already in his second Super Bowl. You know, I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to necessarily take a Super Bowl leap in year number 3, although it's possible. But I do think Trevor Lawrence is going to put together a fantastic season. He's going to win the league MVP. I believe he's going to win the league MVP at some point in his NFL career. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I believe 2023-2024 is a year where Trevor Lawrence puts together a fantastic season and really breaks out and shows the world why he was a generational prospect coming out of Clemson, and really puts his name to the NFL MVP this season. So I want to discuss Super Bowl 58. Which teams realistically can get to Super Bowl 58 and win Super Bowl 58? Let me just say this really quickly. I really tend to scoff my head at these lists out there that I see that have anywhere from 9 to 12 teams included in the Super Bowl picture. Folks, 9 to 12 teams realistically each year do not have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Now, if you're looking at 5 to 7 teams, that's about the sweet spot. So to me, I'm going to list off the teams that I have in my Super Bowl bubble. Spoiler alert, there are 6 teams in my Super Bowl 58 bubble. I'm not going to focus in on the weaknesses of these teams because when you look at every team in the NFL really under a microscope, every single team has a glaring weakness that could be the reason why they don't win the Super Bowl. You look at the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Outside of Travis Kelce, I don't think they have the wide receivers and the tight ends to really compete. I think Patrick Mahomes is at a disadvantage this year. We really thought some of those young guys would step up this year, and there's a lot of concerning factors, in Kansas City with those weapons. You look at the New York Jets with Aaron Rodgers, that offensive line's a little bit shaky. It does worry me a little bit. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles, who were just in the Super Bowl. They lost 2 coordinators. I mean, it's hard to, get back to a Super Bowl, let alone with 2 new coordinators on your roster, on your coaching staff. That's a little bit tough. You look at the Seattle Seahawks. Can Geno Smith have another great season for back-to-back years? That's a legitimate question. You look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. How good is their defense? Is their offensive line going to be able to hold up? You look at a team like the Buffalo Bills, who were not included in my Super Bowl bubble for this particular season. Can we admit they're a little bit too Josh Allen dependent? The run game, to me, is not that impressive in Buffalo. You look at the Baltimore Ravens. I think their roster is pretty good, but a lot of their key players have an injury history. So when you really dive deep into these teams, you look at the 49ers. What's Brock Purdy going to be? Is he good enough to lead the 49ers to a Super Bowl? All these teams have weaknesses. Now, one team to keep your eye on, the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson. We know how talented he is, but can he get back to the Houston Deshaun Watson? If the Cleveland Browns have anywhere close to what Deshaun Watson was in Houston, then they have a chance to be a special football team. Because I think Andrew Berry, their general manager, has done a phenomenal job of building up that roster from top to bottom, offensive line, defensive line, receivers, running backs, obviously Deshaun Watson, who I believe is going to be a big upgrade over Baker Mayfield. The Cleveland Browns have all the ingredients. It all comes down to if Deshaun Watson can be that quarterback and that leader for them, and Kevin Stefanski. I think Kevin Stefanski is a little bit underrated, and I actually believe in the guy. I think that he is one of the better head coaches in the NFL that no one is talking about. And the only reason why I don't have Cleveland actually included in the Super Bowl bubble is just because in year number 1 of Deshaun Watson being a full-time starter, coming off a suspension, coming off all the controversy, can he really truly lead them to a Super Bowl in year number 1 as a starter? We'll see. It's a possibility, but I don't know if it's fully going to happen. You look at the 6 teams I have in my Super Bowl bubble. Kansas City Chiefs, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. Enough said. The best head coach and quarterback combination in the entire NFL. The 2 most important things in the NFL are the quarterback and the head coach when it comes to team success. And the Kansas City Chiefs, they're the cream of the crop. They're the defending Super Bowl champions. And I think they have some very good players on their defense, even if Chris Jones is not going to be around, because that defense really impressed me in week number 1. This could be the best defense Patrick Mahomes has ever had. I like Kansas City a lot. You look at the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Fame level quarterback. I think he's going to really turn around that franchise. He could be mirroring Peyton Manning potentially. I think Aaron Rodgers' career, along with Peyton Manning's career, has had very big similarities. I think Aaron Rodgers is motivated. I think that he's confident this year, and he's willing to take on a new challenge. And you look at the New York Jets, this is a team that, with a star quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, can win shootouts, but also with a great defense, can win ugly, low-scoring games when it matters in the playoffs. I believe I can see Aaron Rodgers making a run to the Super Bowl if all the parts come together and Aaron Rodgers does his thing, because we know he's a bad man. Look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They've been knocking on this door for the past 2 seasons with Joe Burrow. They have the weapons. They have the star quarterback, obviously. The running backs are really good. Joe Mixon's one of the best players in football that no one talks about. I think the defense is a little bit underrated. We'll see can Cincinnati get over the hump. Can Joe Burrow put together that great kick butt playoff run? He's capable of it, but let's see it happen. You look at the Philadelphia Eagles. Yes, they did lose 2 coordinators, but this roster from top to bottom, it's loaded. I mean, it's one of the 5 best rosters in all of football. They have the star wide receivers. They have probably the best offensive line in the entire NFL. They drafted Jalen Carter, who was a guy that a lot of people thought would have gone a lot higher in the draft. He could be an absolute steal when we look back on things. And I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a Pro Bowl type season. I believe in Philadelphia from top to bottom. Well-run organization, absolutely loaded roster that should have won the Super Bowl last year, but unfortunately, lack of experience and just some boneheaded coaching, kind of towards the end of that Super Bowl really, hurt them. But I think Philadelphia can learn from their mistakes and get back to the Super Bowl this season. You look at the Seattle Seahawks. Boy, oh boy, do I love their wide receivers. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how Jackson Smith, Nick Jigba, fell all the way to the Seattle Seahawks. It still makes no sense to me, but regardless, he's there. He's a dynamic playmaker. You have DK Metcalf. You have Tyler Lockett. Those are 2 other great weapons for Geno Smith to throw to. I think Geno Smith is in for a fantastic MVP level season. And I think Pete Carroll is one of the 5 best head coaches in all of football. I mean, I look at Seattle, they're drafting these guys out of college, and I'm like, okay, this guy's a gadget guy, this guy plays special teams, not really sure how he's going to fit in, and boom, just out of nowhere, these guys are contributing at a high level, whether it be on special teams, defense, offense. I mean, Pete Carroll, the way he just plugs in players and gets the most out of guys is really, really special. He's a special head coach. I think he still has great coaching years left in him. You look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, as I've discussed, I believe Trevor Lawrence is going to break through and win the league MVP this season. You have star weapons, a good run game. The offensive line is a little bit shaky. The defense, has some question marks. But I think Doug Peterson is by far and away the most underappreciated great head coach in the NFL. Jacksonville should beat up on their division. And I think that Jacksonville, from a talent perspective, they have most of the pieces needed as long as Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson are in sync and the defense takes a little bit of a step forward, which I believe they can. It all comes down to potentially Travon Walker, okay? Can he be the first overall pick that we thought he was going to be? Some people really didn't believe in him, but we'll see. I mean, he's a guy that has to take a leap for them, and we'll see if he can, but there you have it. Those are my 6 teams that I believe can win Super Bowl 58. Kansas City Chiefs, New York Jets, Cincinnati Bengals, Philadelphia Eagles, Seattle Seahawks, Jacksonville Jaguars, and keep your eye on Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. We'll see what these teams can do in hopes of getting to Super Bowl 58. I want to briefly touch on the Pittsburgh Steelers and specifically Kenny Pickett. Is Kenny Pickett legitimate? One thing I will say is the Pittsburgh Steelers will find out very, very quickly if Kenny Pickett can sink or swim as an NFL starting quarterback. Kenny Pickett is the successor to Hall of Fame quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. And Ben Roethlisberger provided a lot of great stability for Pittsburgh, won them multiple Super Bowls, and Kenny Pickett is the next guy up. First round pick. This is another year where Kenny Pickett needs to take a massive leap. The Pittsburgh Steelers will find out very, very quickly if he's the guy, because this is a guy in Kenny Pickett that started 52 games in college at Pittsburgh. Really the backyard of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He literally played college football in Pittsburgh, and now he's playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. When you've started over 40 games in college, I expect you to be well seasoned. I expect you to be prepared. I expect you to come in and start, kicking butt. You look at Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, one of the reasons why he has done so well in the NFL, I believe, is because he started a crap ton of games at Oregon, got a lot of experience in college. You look at a guy like Trey Lance. I'm not here to advocate for Trey Lance. I'm not here to bash Trey Lance. All I'm saying is Trey Lance struggled to show that he could be the franchise quarterback in a 49ers uniform in the limited opportunities he got. One of the reasons why I believe that's the case is because of lack of experience. I mean, the guy barely started any games in college. What did he start? Like 13, 14 games in college? Experience is everything, people. There's a reason why you go to medical school for so many years. You need real life experience. You need reps. And Kenny Pickett has had a ton of reps in college, okay? Not to mention the weapons for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are top 10 in the NFL. You look at George Pickens, Deontay Johnson. These guys can play. Pat Freiermuth at tight end. He can play. Najee Harris, first-round pick out of Alabama. He should be a guy that could have a really good Pro Bowl type season if things go right. The offensive line is a little bit improved. The defense is loaded. You're being coached by Mike Tomlin, who's never been a part of a losing season. There are virtually no excuses for Kenny Pickett to not do well. There's zero excuses because you look at a guy like Justin Fields, who ended up landing with the Chicago Bears. You look at that situation and you say, man, oh man, does that young man have some dysfunction to overcome? Because the Chicago Bears, historically, an up and down franchise. But you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is a stable, well-run organization that has not had a top 5 pick in the NFL draft since the Terry Bradshaw days, people. The Pittsburgh Steelers are well run from top to bottom. They've given this guy star wide receivers. They've given Kenny Pickett a great defense, great coaching. You look at Kenny Pickett in the situation that he landed in with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you say, boy, oh boy, does this kid have a great opportunity to have a great NFL career, because he landed in a great stable situation with support. And listen, folks, people just can't overcome bad management. I mean, we've seen it from time and time again. Even Dan Marino, couldn't overcome bad defenses in Miami for so many years. Same thing with Drew Brees in New Orleans at times, even though he did win a Super Bowl. And those guys are 2 top 10 quarterbacks of all time. But when you didn't put a great defense around them, when you didn't put the great parts around them, they couldn't overcome it. And these are 2 of the best passers the NFL has ever seen. So for Kenny Pickett, the time is now. It's either sink or swim, and the Pittsburgh Steelers will find out very, very quickly if Kenny Pickett is that guy in Pittsburgh. Well, everyone, that's pretty much all I have today. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have made it to the end of this episode, comment your favorite go-to late night snack in the comment section. I want to hear what you guys have to say, and I want to hear and see who the real troopers are out there. The real day ones, the people out there that have been listening to this show from start to finish. So I want to hear that. Put it in the comment section on YouTube, or even tag me on, Twitter, tweeting what your favorite late night snack is. And love to get back to you and love to interact with you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys and gals. It's been Jamal McKinney. This is the Juice Alert. I'm signing out. Until next time, have a God bless day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.